Welcome back, everybody, to the Bucks Planet Podcast. I'm already back here with another episode because I'm so far behind. I almost made another one on Sunday, but then, of course, we had the homework to do. And it's completely ridiculous, but, I had to get it done, and I was unable to make the podcast. But here we are again. And I actually just want to talk about the New Orleans Saints game because I had this podcast all planned out to do either Monday or Sunday. Didn't get it done, but I'm still going to use my notes from the Saints game because I wanted to include it in this podcast. I boiled it down to 3 reasons why we lost. Okay, and this is the order it goes in. Number 1 reason we lost, defensive backs. Number 2 reason we lost, offensive line. Number 3 reason we lost, the officiating. And I'm going to talk about every one of these individually. So we're going to start with the third one and work our way up to number 1. So third one is officiating. Okay, a lot of people say you can't blame the officials. Officials are part of the game too. And they can win or lose a game, as Saints fans should know in the playoffs. And I hate the Saints. Like, it's not an understatement. It's not like, oh, just because they're in the division. I just hate them. And I feel like if they weren't in our division, I'd still hate them. I just can't stand them. And the biggest issue I have with them is how hypocritical they are all the time. And they're lunatic fans. Because I'll admit, they got completely shafted, horrible call in the playoffs. Okay, it happened. You can't say it didn't happen because it did happen. And I mean, but the way they reacted to, there's New Orleans fans who are petitioning, they're calling for the game to be replayed. It's like, give me a break. The official made a bad call and you lost. It just happened. You can't replay the game. We can't change the rules just for the Saints fans. Except this is the problem I have. That's exactly what we did. And I've already said on this show, I've said it on my Snapchat, I like the pass interference rule, how you can challenge it, but I'm starting to regret saying that because I have an issue with that being a call because will it help the game? Yes. Okay, I like the fundamental of it, but I hate how it's a call just because the Saints fans think it should be a call. Oh, we'll change the rule book for you guys. I think it should be a little bit more difficult to change. This is a huge rule. It's probably the biggest rule that's been added to the league since the extra point, backing that up to the 33, to make it a 33-yard field goal, basically. And, all of a sudden, Saints get screwed in the playoffs. Oh, let's change the rule. Let's add a completely new rule. It was a little irritating. It's a little irritating to think about. If you think about it from that perspective, you have to say that this rule, the challenging pass interference rule, is not really a good thing. And this is the other issue. So then, the New Orleans Saints play Rams a couple weeks ago. Cameron Jordan, okay, good defensive end. He gets a fumble 6, which should have been a fumble 6, but the officials ruled it dead because they thought that it was a forward pass. But then when they reviewed the play, they said, oh, this was not a forward pass. This was a fumble. But so it's the Saints' ball. But the problem is after that rule happens, the Saints scored, the rule is that it's just the Saints' ball wherever they picked it up because they ruled it down. And of course, then it was just like, oh God, here come the Saints fans again. Here it comes. And then you go on Instagram, you go on Twitter, you go on whatever you go on, and there it is. Oh, the ref screwed us. It was just like, oh, let me slam my head into my car window until it shatters. It was like, oh, we have to do this again. And then this is the other issue. Then the officials go to their little meetings, and the head of officiating they have a little meeting, they say, okay, so from now on, we're going to let every single play that's debatable, whether it's a fumble or an incomplete pass, we're just going to let it go. And then when you review it, so that way, if there's another situation like that, they can get the touchdown and then yada, yada. And it's just like, are you serious? And then the next week, there was a debacle in the Lions-Chiefs game because everyone thought this one pass was forward, so no one tried. The pass, it looked like forward pass, and no one touched the ball, but the ref never blew it dead because they were told not to after the Saints game from the previous week. So the Chiefs players picks up ball, runs 100 yards, and scores because Lions are at the goal line. And you can't do that as the National Football League. Okay, if there's a bad call, okay, and the Saints fans want to change the rule. Oh, we got screwed. Change the rule. I hate that. It irritates me. Like, it's so irritating. And then this is where the hypocrisy comes in. Bucks go into New Orleans last week, okay? And I've never seen a call like this before in my entire life. So, New Orleans Saints fumble the punt. We punt it to them. Their kick returner fumbles, and we recover the football, but there was a big pile, and then we come out of the pile with the football. And guess what the officials say? They say there was no clear possession of the football, so that means it's automatically the Saints' ball. And then you're like, okay, like that guy's just obviously an idiot and should get fired immediately preceding the game. But then they go so then they're reviewing the play because we're going to challenge, right? Like obviously it's like, do you have two eyes and are they fully functional? Because when there's a fumble and then your player comes out of the pile with the football, that means he has the football. Okay, that's how football works. And they go and they review it. And after probably a 10-minute review, I mean, I probably could have gotten my car washed, came back and ate breakfast or lunch or whatever time it was, and they wouldn't have reviewed the play. And even the announcer's like, this is just a waste of time. I mean, Will's got to do homework, and they're out here still reviewing this play that everyone knows is recovered by the Bucks. But then they come back, and they still say there's no clear possession of the ball. And literally, you can go on anything, just search the play, and all you see is us clearly recovering the ball. And I've never seen a call that bad before in my life. And I know what you're going to say. Well, Will, the Bucks got an interception 2 plays later, so it didn't matter. It does matter because it was a bad call. Our interception doesn't change anything. It was still a bad call. And let me just tell you, if that call happened on the Saints, if we fumbled the ball and the Saints recovered it and they said no clear fumble recovery, oh, goodness gracious, there would be riot. The NFL would shut down. There would be riots in the stadium. They'd probably have to cancel the game. The players would probably have a lockout. It would be hell on earth. But it happens to the Bucks and no one cares. No, we go on to, the highlights. No one mentions it. But if that play happened against the Saints, the first highlight, oh my goodness, the Saints received a bad call, changed the league, redo it, and we're tired of it. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And so you don't hear a peep. And head coach Sean Payton, biggest jerk. Okay, we're not using profanity on here, so we're going to call him a jerk. And he actually can play about the refs, and you didn't mention the refs on that game. Oh, that's interesting there, Sean. That's interesting. I wonder what you would have said if that happened on you. And then later in the game, according to our coaches, our best cover corner, you can't see me, but I'm doing quotes around that because I don't know if this guy's whatever, but Carlton Davis, okay? He has a helmet-to-helmet hit on the Saints tight end, I think. And originally I was like, whatever. But then I saw the replay. I was like, okay, that's a helmet-to-helmet hit. That should be a penalty. Like, I agree, it should be a penalty. But it was unintentional. It was a slant route or it was an out route. And Carlton Davis just immediately turned his head. The guy was right in front of him, and he didn't really bend over to make the tackle. He kind of tackled him straight up, and that's why their helmets kind of clapped. And that's what happened. But then they come back and they review it, and then the refs eject Carlton Davis from the game for one helmet-to-helmet hit. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, Quan Alexander week 1 had one helmet-to-helmet hit, and he got ejected. That was so intentional. Jameis is sliding, and Quan's basically, has his hands backwards and says, going helmet first into Jameis's helmet. I mean, that it was intentional. And that's what you're supposed to get ejected. It was intentional. Carlton Davis wasn't intentional. He hit the guy in the helmet once, and it wasn't intentional. He was trying to make a play on the ball. I was like, God. And it gets ejected. And I can tell you one thing. That alone would have probably caused Saints riots. If Marshawn Lattimore, because that's their best cover corner, Marshawn Lattimore gets ejected for that hit. Oh no. Stop the league. Stop. Hey, you there running the league. Stop. Goodell, stop it. We're shutting it down. Change the rule. Change it. No more ejections. If Marshawn Lattimore got ejected for the same hit, there'd be no more ejections in the NFL. That'd be a new rule. The next day, breaking news out of the commissioner's office. Because of Marshawn Lattimore's ejection, There will be no more NFL ejections because the Saints had a bad call on ejections. That's just flat out how it is. That's what would have happened. Not exaggerated. And I'm tired of it. I hate the Saints. The Saints are ruining the league. Even if you're like, I don't know, a Bengals fan or some irrelevant team that has nothing to do with the Saints, you should still hate them. They're a cancer to the league. If they just have a bad holding call, whip, change, thank you. And it's just, I'm tired of it. I'm flat out tired of it. I hate that team. Hope they go 0-16 for the rest of my life. I really do. I can't stand them. I hate Kamara, hate Breeze, hate Michael Thomas, hate Marshawn Lattimore, hate Sean Payton, hate their fans, hate their stadium, hate all of it. And that's just, that's reason number 3 why we lost. Reason number 2 why we lost. Offensive line. I mean, you talk about giving away a game. So we're down by multiple scores, and it's the fourth quarter, kind of beginning of the fourth quarter. So you're thinking, okay, go down there, score. Maybe the defense can, you can cross your fingers and, pray or do whatever you do, and we might get one stop in the whole game because, they don't punt, and we never force punts. So our offensive line, though, I remember it was just like I knew the game was over the second Jameis got sacked on our first drive in the fourth quarter. It was the offensive line gave up. They were like, all right, I've had it for today, on to London. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, you snap the ball, he has about 0.5 seconds, and the guy's right in his face. And since you're losing by multiple scores, you're going to have to, and it's the fourth quarter, you're going to have to throw it deep. So our receivers are running deeper routes. This means you need more time. And not only did we not have more time, we had less time than when we do the short passes. And so it was hard to watch. It was like, we're just going to roll over like that? I mean, the offensive line rolled over. That's what they did. I mean, Alex Kappa and DeMar Dotson. Alex Kappa, okay, he broke his arm in the second quarter, and then he played the rest of the game, okay? I'm not going to lie, that's kind of insane. That's insane. You have to admit, that's insane. Okay? That's not an excuse to be bad, because if your arm's broken and you're playing bad, that means you should not be playing, and you should know that you should not be playing. Okay? So that's that. And then DeMar Dotson, number 69, is 6'9". Okay, the man's ginormous. I mean, you look at this guy, you're like, are you an alien from outer space? Were you made in a lab? But yet, he can't block anybody. I mean, he is so old. You watch the film. Hopefully we get the freaking film thing running so I can show you guys film. But he is so slow off the ball. I mean, Cam Jordan and those people, they can just jog off the line of scrimmage and run and get around him. Sometimes they don't even touch him. Sometimes they just run right around him. You're going to be this slow. I'm going to run right around you. I'm not even do any technique whatsoever. And other times, Dotson's just getting pancaked. I mean, how could you be 6'9" and get pancaked? I really don't understand. He's showing his age. I actually do understand. He's showing his old age. He needs to be. This has to be his last season. And now Dotson's injured because of some hamstring issue, and then they put in our backup right tackle. And so DeMar Dotson is the worst tackle in the league. Okay, so imagine being the backup to the worst tackle in the league. That means your trash is crap too. So we get there, and it's the next drive, and we have our backup tackle, and first play, he gives up a sack, I'm pretty sure, or second play. I mean, it was like he was like, DeMar Dotson's like, okay, so here's what you do. You just let them, you get pancaked and then give up a sack. And then Wells was like, okay, we're going to go ahead and do that, DeMar. Thank you for the advice. That's exactly what happened. And now I'm worried because our right guard is out and our right tackle is out. So our entire right side of the offensive line is going to be the backups because Kappa sucks too. So I don't want to hear it about him. And we know Dotson sucks. So their backups are going to be trash. We already know Dotson's backup is trash. We saw him give away the game. Look, the game is won in the trenches, okay? And we're not winning in the trenches. That's a fact. So you automatically, the Bucs already have basically an uphill climb every single game because we're going to get sacked 100 times, and we ain't doing anything with the run usually. Except Rojo's look better, but whatever. It's inconsistent. It's inconsistent play, except from Dotson. Dotson, I will admit, Dotson is the most consistent player on the team. He is just consistently awful every single week. So you already know that going into the game. He's at least consistent. I have to give him a compliment, okay? You're very consistent, DeMar, at being bad. Hey, I'll give you credit where it's due. And I cannot imagine. I mean, Jameis must be let's see. What time is it in London right now? We're going to look that up. It's 11 o'clock right now as I'm filming this. I'm missing the Florida LSU games. We're actually going to update that too. Let's see. What time is it in London? It is 4 in the morning. 4 in the morning in London. And I bet you Jameis is having night terrors right now thinking about the right side of his offensive line. I'm in AP psychology now. I know what night terrors are, okay? And it's not good. It means like when you like are literally having terror. It's like worse than a bad dream. Like you're shaking, you're screaming in your dream. And that is what Jameis is most likely going through right now because he is going to get clobbered tomorrow, especially with my boy from Florida State, Brian Burns, who plays for the Panthers. If he is on the right tackle, Wells, I mean, it is game over. I mean, I don't know. I feel Jameis is going to be flying back from London, that like 10-hour flight or whatever it is, and he's going to be bruised up. It's going to be a rough day for the offense tomorrow, I think, because that protection is just not there. It's not even there when the starters are there. So when your whole right side of your offensive line is gone, can you even imagine what the backups are going to do? I mean, Jameis is totally going through night terrors right now. That's my prediction. I wish I was friends with Jameis so I could text him and be like, "Did you have night terrors last night?" Because I said it on my podcast. And he's going to be like, "Yes, like I didn't sleep at all. I am so nervous. I'm going to get crushed. And I'm going to have to retire early like Andrew Luck." And I'm going to be like, probably start crying. But, so that's an issue. And I'll tell you who's starting because I looked this up. We already know that Wells is going to be the backup for DeMar Dotson, and I'm not sure who's the backup to Kappa. I just have it on my phone, and I look up the time in London, and now it's gone. I can't find it. Okay, Bucks lineup tomorrow. You just know this guy's bad though. Like you know that, right? Like you guys know that, right? Watch him actually be good. That'd be kind of funny. Here we go. Okay. So, yeah, Dotson's backup is Josh Wells. Trash, we already know that. All right, Kappa's backup last name is Watford. Earl Watford is his name. So you're probably gonna, if you guys have me on Snapchat, you're probably gonna be seeing Watford and Wells on my story a lot because they're probably not gonna be doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's tough. I'm actually really nervous about this team because if Jameis goes down, I mean they're bye-bye season. I mean it's basically already bye-bye season because of this god-awful roster. But I mean this is just terrible. Wells and Watford. That's tough. All right, now let's get into the third thing. The third reason why we lost the game. I mean, the first reason, the main reason, in my opinion, this is the main reason. Our defensive backs. Woo-hoo! Now, I hope that some of you Florida fans are listening to this because I know I'm friendly a lot of Florida fans. I hate Florida, but whatever. You guys, for the most part, agree that Hargreaves is awful. Worst defensive player on our roster. Fact. He's the worst player. But some of you guys are a little delusional and still think that he's good. So I'm just gonna break it to you. Vernon Hargreaves is so bad that it is actually painful to watch. I watched the Joker movie, okay, over the weekend. And that movie's disturbing and it's like creepy and like whatever. But I can tell you, watching Vernon Hargreaves play is harder to watch than some of those gruesome scenes in the Joker. That's how bad it's hard. He's hard to watch. It's so bad. And this is the part that kind of exposes the coaching staff a little bit, but I'm actually going to compliment them in a second, but I have to get this out of the way. So, before the game, like Carlton Davis or Todd Bowles or someone was like, Carlton Davis is the best cover cornerback that we have. Oh, interesting. And then we all know Michael Thomas is like a top 7 receiver of the league. So wouldn't you think that our best cover corner, Carlton Davis, would be covering Michael Thomas the whole game? Okay, can we be logical? Even you people that some of you people don't watch football and you listen to these podcasts, which is fine. I love you guys. But okay, even you guys can understand your best cornerback who covers wide receivers should cover their best wide receiver. Okay, do we use logic? But guess who's on him the whole game? Vernon Hargreaves, who's probably our worst cover corner. It made no sense. And I hear you're going to say, whoa, Carlton Davis got ejected, so he had to. He did. But Hargreaves was on Thomas way before Carlton got ejected, for the most part. And it was like, this is the part that exposes the coaching staff, because they're not stupid. Okay, Todd Bowles is a good coach. Everyone's a good coach. Okay. Obviously, Carlton Davis is not the best cover corner on our team. They just said that to kind of hype up our crappy players. That's what he did. And he put Hargreaves on him. Huge mistake. I mean, I would have benched Hargreaves personally. I personally would have said, look, you're a first-round pick. You can't cover anyone. You couldn't even cover their fifth-string receiver if we asked you to. You're a bust in this league. You're the worst player on our team. You're going to sit out the rest of the season, and we're not re-signing you. I swear I would have said that. No, I wouldn't have. I would have at least said, like, you look awful. You're getting I don't know. I would have benched him, okay? That's the one thing I know I would have done. I would have benched him. Because he is so bad. I mean, there's plays when Michael Thomas caught that one out route, and then Hargreaves is 10 yards behind him, and Hargreaves tries to tackle him. Hargreaves didn't even dive. He just stood straight up and tried to, like, I don't know what he was trying to do. He was just like bear hugging him as if he's going to like pick him up and slam him like a sumo wrestler. And it was like, are you serious? Michael Thomas is 80 times bigger than you. You're a little twig who can't do anything. You're a laughingstock in the league. I still have the clip. I might post this to YouTube. I have a clip of Eli Manning from a couple years ago saying, after they just scored a touchdown and Hargreaves got beat and he looked horrible the whole game, like there's a typical Hargreaves game. I guess I'll give Hargreaves credit. He's also a very consistent player at being bad. So him and Dotson, most consistent player. And I have a video of Eli Manning and he's going to his team on the bench. He goes, we're throwing at 28 all day long. We're throwing at 28. Whoever's on 28, we're throwing it to him. And guess what number Hargreaves is? 28. The Hargreaves experience needs to end. Okay, Jason Light's keeping him because Jason Light has an ego issue, and he's going to be like, you know what? He's going to be a good player. He's going to be a good player. He's going to bust out. No, Jason, cut your losses. I'm in econ, okay? There's a thing called the shutdown rule. And it's like when like freaking price goes above, or it's when the AVC, the average variable cost, goes above price, you shut down. Okay, well on this, Hargreaves is above price, so we need to shut down. We need to shut him down. And we need to get him off the team because I am tired of watching this. I'm going to college next year. It's going to be sad. I have to go and then this podcast, and I don't have to talk about FSU here because, they need my help. They really do. They need my help. I'll help them out. We might win a few games. We might, if we're lucky. So Hargreaves is the issue, but Hargreaves isn't just the issue. He's just if you're saying like, these players suck, he's just the main one that sucks. Okay, that's just how that works. But our other idiots don't know what we're doing either. I mean, MJ Stewart, Ryan Smith, how the hell is he still on the team? I don't know, but he's still on there. And, I mean, there's just people running wide open. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater is the Saints' backup quarterback, and he had, 3 touchdowns, and like 300 yards. I mean, we'll make this backup quarterback look like a Hall of Famer. We do it every week in and week out, year in and year out, all the time. That's what we do. That's what Buccaneer football is. If you're a quarterback who's bad, we will make you look good. That is our goal, okay? We're a nice team. We like to do that to your players. But we can't, because this is the problem. And I'm going to mention this, okay? Do you guys remember back in my my training camp podcast where I mentioned how Arians comes out in a press conference and he says the defense is fixed. And then all the headlines of the papers, the defense is changed, it's fixed. And what did I say? I said, no, it's not. This is every year we do the same thing. And you just know it's not going to be fixed. And look, what are we? We're in week 5 and we're in week 6 and the defense isn't fixed. Whoa. It's the same thing every year, man. I swear. I mean, this is ridiculous. You knew that it wasn't going to be fixed. Like, if you read the headline and you said, oh, wow, I believe the papers, I don't know what you're doing, because you just should know it's not going to be fixed. The only difference with this defense is that this is basically Todd Bowles, what he's trying to deal with. He's going, we have the worst players I've ever had as a coach before. That's what he said in his head. He's saying, we're horrible. We have the worst defensive backs I've ever seen. So what we're going to do is we're going to blitz every single time, because every now and then the quarterback might not have enough time to realize how bad we are on defense, and we'll get a sack or a fumble or hit his arm like Shaq Barrett, like we did against the Rams. Throw a pick. That's exactly what we did against the Rams, because I watched the film on the Rams. When Goff threw the first pick where Jordan Whitehead picked it off, the guy was wide open. Wide open. But since we blitzed, we hit his arm as he threw it, and that made the ball kind of wobbly, and it was underthrown because he hit his arm, and then we intercepted it. But the guy's wide open. And even in that game, we gave up 40 points. I mean, it's unexcusable how bad. And then at this point, because we have good coaches now, this is where it starts to become on the players. We just flat out don't have the roster to actually win a lot of football games. And that's, again, Jason Licht's fault. This entire catastrophe, embarrassment of a team, embarrassment of defensive backs is on Jason Licht. That's what it's just what it is, what it is. And until we get a new manager, a new general manager who can draft players and develop them, this is what it's going to be for a long time. And it's so annoying when you think about it, because Jason Licht just signed a 5-year extension. A 5-year extension. Oh, there's a can of Raid right in front of me, and me saying that out loud makes me want to drink the can. I mean, I got 5 years, gulp, death. Thank you, Raid. It's just, what are we doing? I don't know. Except there was like rumors that it was like, oh, Arians only came here if Light would get the contract extension. Whatever. Bruce, I don't care if Jason's your friend. He sucks. He's so bad. Fire him. But anyways, as of right now, we're stuck with the players we got. But I do have some. It's a hot take. People are like, oh, you do all the hot takes, whatever. So I'll say this: the Bucs should trade for Patrick Peterson, and I genuinely don't care if it's a first-round pick and a second-round pick. We can't draft anyways. You might as well trade the pick, get a good player who's already established, and him and Arians already have connections because Patrick Peterson plays for the Cardinals, and Bruce Arians used to coach the Cardinals. And for those of you who don't know, Patrick Peterson is probably a top 2, top 3 corner in the NFL. And we need corners because corners are defensive backs. We need those. So we need to be receiving Patrick Peterson. So I say we make a blockbuster trade for him. Don't care about the draft picks. Because think about it. Think about this. I actually have a plan for this. So Jason Licht has 5 years left. Okay, so that means we have... Okay, I need to not say that again because it loses my train of thought because I get so irritated thinking about it. Okay, calm down, 5 years, whatever. So, of course, we can fire him whenever we want to, though. Okay, that's the thing. So we'll say this though: if we keep doing blockbuster trades for like Patrick Peterson or like Devin McCourty or something, like really good defensive players like that, and we keep trading first-round picks, then Jason Licht won't have a first-round pick to screw up. It's a good idea because you're trading your first-round pick for a player who's already established. instead of using our first round pick to pick an up and coming player, because we can't do that. That's not something that's not in our skill set. We're a football team that cannot draft football players. That's our thing. So what we need to do is, trade some first rounders for we need to trade some first rounders for some linemen, offensive linemen, for some defensive backs. Because then we don't have to screw up the first round pick. It's a win-win. You don't screw up the first round pick and you get a good football player. Because who cares if you have your first round pick? Because a first round pick, you're supposed to get a good football player in the draft. But if you trade your first round pick to get a football player already in the league who's good, then you still get a good football player. You might be a little older, so we'll have to kind of scheme up who we're trying to trade for. But it's better than risking it on a first round pick, because by risking it, it's not even really a risk. It's just already a bust. Devin White hasn't even... Look, I'm not going to bash Devin White. He's only played one game, really. He was active against the Saints, but he didn't play like a snap I didn't see. Maybe he did. Maybe it was one snap. But he had tonsillitis, which means he needs to get those things yanked out, because that's, tonsils, you can't get tonsillitis, buddy, okay? And then he had some knee issue, but that apparently wasn't as much of an issue as the tonsillitis thing. I don't know. Who cares? But that's annoying. It's just like, I don't know, man. Like, we need to be trading. So this is the thing. Trade for Patrick Peterson. Oh, Will, we don't have the cap room. Figure it out. I don't care. I don't have the cap room. We have the crappiest players in the whole league. How come they're making that much money? Because Jason Light, again, structured their contracts horribly. Oh, notice how every time there's an issue, it leads back to Jason Light. Yeah, you should be noticing that. That's a trend that you should be picking up on. So, those are the three issues we had against the Saints. Number 1, defensive backs. Number 2, offensive line. Number 3, officiating. And that's going to do it for the podcast today. Bucks play at 9:30 in the morning tomorrow. All right, you guys got to be up. We have to be watching the games, so then you can watch my podcast and understand what I'm talking about. All right, so remember, everyone, watch the game tomorrow early. I don't care if it's early. You got to watch. You just have to watch. So go Bucks. I hate the Panthers. And guess who we're playing? We're playing their backup quarterback. You know what that means. It's Hall of Fame time. Bust out the gold jacket. Might be a rough one tomorrow, but hey, there's always hope. Still beginning of the season. Go Bucks.